This is episode 781, and we're here live in Southwest Florida in my chilly studio. It is really cold here today. We had a low of 39. It was still 39 Fahrenheit when I got up this morning. It's about 65 in the house, and I'm just debating whether or not to turn the heat on. I haven't turned the heat on yet this year. We're having some strange problems with YouTube this morning, but we'll see if people end up finding the link or not. Hi, Thea and Iris. Good morning. So it turns out there were some glitches with YouTube scheduling the podcast this morning. There actually have been all week, but today's the first day that I think it's been noticeable to anyone besides me. So we'll see if people get notifications to come over. So apparently, even though I scheduled the podcast for 9 o'clock this morning, when I finally went live just now, not when I scheduled it earlier, it said that it was scheduled for December 31st, 1969 at 9 a.m., which I didn't do that. Anyway, we'll see. Hold on, I'm going to say hi to everybody that I can read your names, but I got to wait till I get my glasses back on. You know, when you take your glasses on and off all day, you get fingerprints on them. Oh, Jill's in Naples right now. Yes, it's sunny, but it's chilly. Hopefully you brought some layers for this weather. It's not going to stick, though. It's cool. It's cold today, but it's supposed to warm up again. Hi, Diane, Thea, Sean, Joe, Judy, Lily, Jill, Trisha, Lorraine, Judy, Sarah, Donna. Lorraine hasn't been getting notifications. Lorraine, did you get notifications at one point and they stopped? And if they stopped, when did they stop? If they stopped this week, I would say YouTube's been glitchy all week. So maybe double check your notifications on my channel. Make sure that the bell is clicked there. And then you'll also want to check the YouTube app notifications and settings on your phone, because it's a two-part process to get notifications. Just this week, Lorraine says, yeah, I've had issues with YouTube in scheduling the podcast all week too. So maybe it's just glitchy. But it's also possible that when it's glitchy, it bumps you out of certain things. I know that's happened before too. So I would just suggest to double check the notifications on my channel and on the settings for your YouTube app on the phone, on your phone. And then if all that's good, then maybe it'll just work itself out, because usually the YouTube glitches do work themselves out. Okay, so I don't know if any of you are old school country music fans, but a friend of mine on Facebook, a friend of mine from high school on Facebook, had on a t-shirt over the weekend that last weekend or last week that was referencing Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, and Patsy Cline. And I was like, oh, I want that. And so I said, where'd you get that shirt? She goes, my mother-in-law made it for me. I was like, oh, well, let me see if there's like a trademark, a brand or something. And if there isn't, then I'll make it on Redbubble, or we'll see. So I ended up finding it on Amazon for $17. And this is the one that I got. And I thought, that's fine. I'll just buy that. And so if you are a fan of Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, or Patsy Cline, or all of them, I love this t-shirt, and I thought maybe I'd share it with you guys here just in case you do too. It is in my Amazon shop, and I think Judy just posted a link to it, so thanks for that, Judy. I'm also wearing my velour tracksuit. I have to wear this when it's cold in the house. Yes, the t-shirt is nice and soft. It's actually almost like a brushed, it's okay. In the range of t-shirt softness, this is up there with one of the softest t-shirts I own, if that gives you any indication. I'm not sure if it's 100% cotton or not, but it feels like cotton, and it is incredibly soft. But if you follow the link in the video description that Judy shared to the t-shirt, it'll tell you what the fiber content is. But all I can tell you is that it is extremely soft. It is not stiff at all. And just for size comparison, I bought a medium. You know I like to wear my things a little on the tight side anyway, but I want to say that I don't think that that's too bad. I don't think that that's super tight for a medium. Notice I'm wearing the wrong pants this morning. I was getting ready and I couldn't find my pants. to match my velour tracksuit. I'm guessing they're in the dryer, so I'm only wearing the top half of it. But having said that, it's kind of fun to mix and match it too. I don't have a problem with wearing my snow leopard leggings with all of this, with gray and blue. But as soon as the podcast over, I am going to go and look for the proper pants. I like to be put together before I leave the house. Thanks, Lily. I love my t-shirt too. Loretta Lynn, coal miner's daughter, one of my favorite musicals of all time. I still listen to that soundtrack regularly. I still sing those songs in the car or all the time. And then I also love Dolly Parton so much. Hi, Donna. Oh, I got something coming. Judy, at least I'm wearing pants. Yes, at least I'm wearing pants. That is a good point. There's always something to be grateful for. Oh, yeah, I love the Bee Gees too, Jill. I'll check it out, definitely. Barry Gibb's new album with Keith Urban and with Alison Krauss. I will check it out as soon as the podcast's over while I work on shipping. I will. Hi, Christine. Yeah, there were issues. YouTube's being glitchy again this week, so we'll see. Hi, Val. Hi, Olivia. Good morning. Hi, Grace. I don't think I saw you earlier. I think I missed your name, so sorry about that. Yeah, that sounds like a fun album to check out. I do listen to the Bee Gees a lot, too. I do have Bee Gees days sometimes. Yeah, I don't know why the podcast was I do know why the podcast was difficult to find. So I scheduled it this morning for 9 a.m. And then when I went to go live later, I love Patsy Cline too, I agree. When I went to go live later, I went to click the live button and it said scheduled for December 31st, 1969 at 9 o'clock. Well, obviously, I did not schedule it for that time. When I originally scheduled it, it was for today at, what is it, February 4th. I think I scheduled it for February 4th. It comes up, yeah, I scheduled it for February 4th at 9 a.m. But then when I went to, and it was being glitchy then because it wouldn't let me add a thumbnail at one point. And I was like, I think it's going to be a glitchy day. So then just before, or maybe like 15 minutes before the podcast started, people were telling me that, I guess taking on a time travel adventure. So people were telling me they couldn't find it. I'm like, that's impossible. I did it this morning and I scheduled it and whatever. But then it was scheduled for December 31st, 1969. So there you go. That's why we couldn't find it. Sharon's got 20 inches of snow in New Jersey. Oh my goodness. I thought maybe I'd see frost here this morning, but I guess I didn't get up early enough for it. It was 39 this morning though when I got up. And I did bring as many of my plants indoors as I could last night. I did not bring the big ones in. I didn't bring the spider plant or the fern, and I regret that. I should have, but I brought in all of my herbs and I brought in all of my orchids last night. Gosh, 20 inches. That reminds me of when I lived in Montreal. In Montreal, we used to get snowstorms where I don't remember how many inches we got. But I do know that the drifts used to go over the roof of our house. We lived in a single-story ranch home, and when we'd get really big snowstorms, the drifts would go completely over the roof of our house where you could open the front door and would just be a complete sheet of snow. And I even remember, like, if my parents let me go outside, and I was like 4 or 5 years old, I couldn't walk in the snow because it was higher than my head. So it was higher than this. And then when the snow plows used to come eventually and plow out the street, the mounds at the corners, they would be taller than the house. So I don't know how to put that into scale for how many inches or feet we got at a time, but I know we got a lot more snow in Montreal than I remember getting in Detroit. Yes, I was born in Montreal, Quebec, for those of you that don't know. I was born there. My dad grew up on Toronto. My dad was from Halifax, Nova Scotia, born to Norwegian and Danish immigrant parents who both came here in their 20s. And he grew up in Toronto, Ontario, went to engineering school, went and studied at GM in Flint, Michigan, met my mom there. They got married and moved to Montreal, Quebec so that he could work at the St. Therese plant there for GM. And while they were there, I was born. I lived there till I was 5 years old, and then we moved back to Detroit. My dad got transferred to a GM plant in Detroit, and that's where my mom was from. So my mom always wanted to go back to Detroit, and my dad finally got a job offer where they could. Do I still speak French? I do not speak French as well as I would like to, because I'm completely out of practice. But my first year of kindergarten, I actually kind of did twice. I started kindergarten in Montreal, and it was a French speaking school only there. So I was speaking French well enough to go to school. But I grew up in a dual language home. We spoke French because that's what was spoken in Montreal at the time, but we spoke English because my parents spoke English. And then when I moved to Detroit, my none of the credits, I guess, it wasn't really called credits for kindergarten. It didn't transfer, and so I had to repeat kindergarten when I got to the U.S. It was English speaking then. I did speak French with my dad on and off until he passed, and it was very minimal though. And I have studied other languages since, so I've studied Spanish extensively, Hebrew through immersion. I've studied Italian and Arabic. So I've got a little bit of a lot of languages in my brain, so I don't speak any of them really well right now. I would guess that Hebrew and Spanish would be the languages that I speak the best. But I could speak French again, absolutely. Like if I knew I was going somewhere and I needed to speak French, I could brush up and absolutely get by. Absolutely. Because at one point I spoke French pretty well. So I think those are all my languages. I know a little German too. Donna, you know what I'm talking about. Snow drifts. You could take snow drifts all the way to the roof of the house. Hello. Wow. Hi, Rinny. Yes, hola. Now, I don't speak other languages on the podcast too much because I try not to alienate anybody. But yes, I can speak multiple languages. I tried doing some videos in Spanish at one point, and there was quite a bit of disappointment from the vast majority of my audience that they really wanted me to stay in English. So, and the requests have been to just convert my English speaking videos to other languages, which I'm still trying to work on. And if anybody wants to help me with that, hola, Anna. If anybody wants to help me with translating, that would be so helpful. No, you're not changing the subject, Melanie. Yes, I was going to die more, be so toasty, and no, I have not yet. I am so sorry about that. I meant to. I can't really tell you what's going on behind the scenes. I have to wait until I can tell you. So all I can do is say, I promise you there's lots of exciting things going on right now, but it did not include dying be so toasty this week. I thought for sure it was going to, but something came up that was super pressing in the last week that has actually taken me so much work that all of my regular work has been put on the side, and I've been working 12 to 14 hours a day on my computer working on something else, and it's been crazy, but it's almost to the day, so it's going to be fine, and we'll get back to normal. And that doesn't make any sense, and I'm sounding so vague, and I apologize for that, but it's just because I've been working so hard, not sleeping, like working around the clock. But Be So Toasty definitely needs to get done. So thank you, who gave the reminder, Melanie. Melanie, thank you for the reminder. I will definitely get to it very soon. What is today? Is today Tuesday? No, today's Thursday. See, I'm a mess. Oh yeah, it's Friday Eve. Happy Friday Eve, everybody. Oh, I even forgot what we were going to talk about this morning. You know that when the weather changes, it changes everything, right? Oh, we've got a... Oh, not so fast, monkey. Not so fast. If you're coming up, you got to say hi. Gee, I am so Tired. Yes, I need to sleep. So I am planning on sleeping extra, extra, extra this weekend. Oh, who's a baby? Who's a sweet baby? Oh, he doesn't want to be here. Um, That's great, Anna. I found that once you learn any language, the other languages in its root are easier to pick up. So once I learned French, I felt like Spanish and Italian were easy to pick up. And once I learned Hebrew, I thought Arabic was pretty easy to pick up because okay, so French, Spanish, and Italian have the root language of Latin, and then Aramaic is the root language of Hebrew and Arabic. And I felt like anytime you learn a language and you learn another language within the same root, I feel like it's easier to pick up. For example, like I think German's pretty easy to understand because it has the same root as English too. I love languages though. Hi Edna, good morning. Yes, I sleep with my kitties, definitely. Yep. And they slept really close last night. They were cold. Uh, Thank you, G. Thank you for all of the well wishes that I get to sleep this weekend. I appreciate it. I've had 2 hours of sleep several nights this week, being up very, very late working. So I appreciate it very, very much. Yes, that's what I'm hoping. Yeah, eventually taking a day off at some point. All right, what was I going to talk about this morning, though? Like, I have completely lost what we were going to talk about. It's that cold weather. Anna, that's great. When you were growing up in Bolivia, it was mandatory to learn English, French, and German. I don't think there's a downside to learning foreign languages at all, and I absolutely love them. Oh, Charlie, your cat sitting on top of your 52 crochet gifts book. That's awesome. Sancho, you're from Boston, so you have an accent too, yes. And there's just different vocabulary, right? There's different vocabulary words in different areas of each country. That's true. Mm, I just spilled coffee on my shirt. Dang it. Oh, oh. I think I got most of it. Yeah, wicked's a big word for people from Boston. That is true. And same with Maine. People from Maine seem to speak similarly to Boston, right? Anna loved French and hated English. Not surprising because, again, French is more similar to Spanish than English is, so it would have been easier for you to pick up, I bet. Um, Okay, Trisha, on my blog, I mentioned about creating your own patterns. Yeah, if anybody has questions about creating your own patterns, please let me know. I think if you're starting to create your own patterns or you have a desire to write your own patterns, I think the first thing to do, obviously taking notes as you're designing something is really important, but it's also good to figure out what is the format and style. Like, for example, I'll give you another example of this. So like if you wanted to write a screenplay, you don't just sit down and start writing. There is an actual format for writing a screenplay. Did you know that writing screenplays, they usually have to be 100 pages? I think that's fascinating. So like books and stories can be as long as you want, but if you want to write a screenplay, it is in a specific format and it needs to be 100 pages. I have a friend who writes screenplays, so I got to learn about that from him. So interesting, and I would love to do that one day. It's definitely on my list. But if you were going to write patterns, I think that you should study formats of other patterns. Now, to say that, there are different styles. Like I have my own particular style for for formatting patterns, and different designers may have different style formats as well. Each magazine has its own style format. So, by the way, well, a side note, I guess, by the way, I'm not sure what the segue is there, but anytime that I've designed for magazines over the years, they will always send you their style format and you'll have to copy and paste your information into their format. So, for example, some places like to do, and your style format could be with how you write your terminology, where you put your different sections, what kind of sections you add. Are you going to add inches and centimeters to offer both sets of dimensions? Are you going to write chain 2 as CH2, or are you going to write it as CH space 2? And once you decide which way you're going to write it, you need to be consistent. Are you going to write single crochet through the back loop SC hyphen TBL or SC hyphen BLO? There's two ways to do it. Which way are you going to do it? Whichever way you decide, you must be consistent throughout the pattern. And then, having said that, once you decide which way you're going to do it, as you write more patterns, you really should stay consistent then as well. So I do have a particular style of the way that I write patterns. And if, whichever designers you want to look at the way they write their patterns, learning how to write a pattern style is not, I'm not saying that you're stealing their information. I'm saying you're looking at their style and seeing if that style will work for you. You may end up doing a morph of different styles and combining them together. Check out what magazines have patterns that are the easiest for you to read. Which designers write patterns that are the easiest for you to read. Whichever ones are the easiest for you to read might be the style that you prefer the best. Sandshell, let's see. Grace, you like my style the best. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's been 17 years in the making. Oh, by the way, next month, March, will be my 17th anniversary working in the knitting and crochet industry. And that also means it'll be the 17th anniversary of Marlon and I returning to the U.S. from Israel with the shirts on our back, but that's okay. We came back with one suitcase. I jammed that suitcase with as many clothes and toys for a 2-year-old as I possibly could, and with my crochet hooks and knitting needles, saying, I'm going to figure out how to make money at knitting and crochet to stay at home with my son while I raise him. And there, 17 years later, boom, mic drop. No, just kidding. Anna, thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, also, I do want to get back to the pattern writing, though, because that is very interesting, because you will also have to decide, are you going to be adding charts? So, okay, you want to be a pattern designer. You're going to figure out your style. You're going to figure out all your sections for keeping your pattern nice and easy to read. So you may notice in some of my patterns that there are sections and there are headers, and it tells you this is what you'll need to make it, the material list. This is your gauge information. This is your finished size information. Here's your instruction section. Here's your finishing section. Now, within that instruction section, then there are subheaders, right? So this is the front, this is the back, this is the components, this is putting it together. But keeping all of those headings and subheadings is really what keeps those patterns organized and easier to read too. But then then you have to ask about, and then you have to decide if you're going to add charts and schematics as well. Are you going to learn how to do it yourself? Are you going to pay somebody else to do it? It gets pretty expensive when you want to pay somebody else to do it. But if you can't do it yourself, it's much more economical than spending 10 years figuring out how to do it, or whatever it ends up being. Anyway, yes, G, I'm very proud of myself. That kind of surprised also. It's amazing how determined I was when I came back from Israel but I don't know. I guess we're going to go off on a side tangent then, because I have to explain why I was so determined. So when we came back here, it was under great duress. My ex-husband was threatening to kill me daily in Israel, and life was very, very scary there. When I finally got here, and told him I wasn't coming back, it was constant death threats on the phone, maybe 30 or 40 a day at first. And it did subside over the 16 years until Marlon turned 18, but I continued to get death threats and other various threats from him the entire time. So like, even since I've been doing the podcast, since I've been doing shows, I'll never forget the first time I was on set at Knitting Daily TV. This was so embarrassing. First time I was on set on the TV show for Knitting Daily TV, and one of the producers I asked one of the producers to take my phone to take a photo of me. We didn't do selfies back then. I said, take my phone and take a photo of me so I could have a photo of me on set for the first time in a TV studio. And as she was going to take the picture, she mistakenly, you know how sometimes it's easy to make a mistake and answer a call, right? So she answered a call. It was my ex-husband, and he was asking where I was, and she goes, well, she's on set to start doing the show. She didn't know who he was, and he started screaming at her and threatening to kill her too. It was one of the most humiliating professional moments of my entire career. And then there was no time to explain to her anything. I just told her, please hang up. I couldn't say anything more than I'm sorry. I couldn't even tell her that it wasn't anything to be afraid of because I had to go. They were ready to start shooting right at that second. That was my first day. Can you even imagine? Oh my, I hadn't even thought about that story in a long time. But man, he was so tough. I have now since blocked him. I made a promise to Marlon that I would not block him on social media until he turned 18, because God forbid Marlon ever wanted to reach out to him. I wanted him to have access to him. Unfortunately, now the man stalks me on all social media with other names or other accounts. He always is, he just found me on TikTok recently. I block him as often as I find him, but after all these years, he still stalks me. He's remarried. He has more children. He has never been a part of Marlon's life. He's lied his way through everything, but yet he still tries to torture us. No, there are no legal recourses, Thea. There was, when I first came to the U.S., I tried to press charges because of the death threats on the phone is considered federal at FCC. And I went to my divorce lawyer, and he said to whatever, what do you call it? To press charges overseas, that he was going to need a $50,000 deposit to start. What do you call the deposit in with lawyers? It's not called a deposit. You know what I mean. And I obviously didn't have. I came back with the retainer. Yes, it was going to be a minimum of a $50,000 retainer, and from there I would have to just wait and see what else it was going to cost. He said it is absolutely not worth it, because at one point we were talking about trying, and the police said there was nothing they could do because he was out of the country too. I tried to get a restraining order back then, couldn't do it. What else? And then we tried to go after him for child support at one point, and that was going to be another $50,000 retainer, and I couldn't afford that, so never did see any child support from him either. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, this was 17 years ago, and this was for an overseas situation. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. It was a mess. The good news is we survived. But the first year that I came here, he threatened to file kidnapping charges. And so when he was threatening to file kidnapping charges against me, the first year I came here, I tried to go into hiding for 12 months. And this is interesting because I stayed at a friend's house instead of family to try to be better hidden. And my lawyer had told me that he probably had no way of really convicting me of kidnapping charges because of the abuse and everything else. Sorry if this isn't interesting, but it is kind of interesting because at that time, I was also trying to crack into business, right? So when I was selling, so all this time is when I was selling the handmade shawls to the boutiques. And when that was working, it was, until it stopped working because I couldn't keep up with the labor cost. And so while that's going on is while I was still trying to build the business too. And so when I decided to go into pattern writing, I was given these jobs, right? I was being told yes. And like, especially for the magazines, they're like, what name do you want us to put for credit on the pattern in the magazine? And I said, I don't want my name in there because I was so afraid of my ex-husband finding me because I was trying to be hidden. And so I was trying to expose my business, trying to grow my brand, but also trying to stay hidden from him. Because if he would have filed kidnapping charges, the FBI would have taken Marlon and me back to Israel. I would have gone to prison, and I would have never seen Marlon again. And this is, did his family realize how crazy he was? Yes, Donna, they did. His family gave me their blessing to leave when I did. I remember, and this was in Hebrew, so it's, the translation is a little bit, may sound a little bit strange, but his father told me, you go and you go and walk straight in your life with your son, and you're a strong woman, and you'll be fine. He had said, I remember it was an expression in Hebrew that was about talking about walking straight, meaning living an honest life, because he knew that my ex-husband, there was nothing honest about him. He was a scam artist through and through. Ah, but it was just so strange that in the first few years of my business, I was trying so hard with the plot, with pushing and pulling back, trying to expose my business, but then trying not to, because the magazines wouldn't use my website or wouldn't use my business name for the designer name in the patterns. And so I was trying to fight them on not using Kristin Omdahl, but using, and my website was styled by Kristin at that point. It wasn't my name, and it wasn't my name for that reason. They wouldn't allow it. I had to use Kristin Omdahl as the pattern designer in the magazines. And I can't tell you how many times I stayed up late at night going, "Oh my God, what if he finds me?" And looking back now, I'm thinking, yeah, he was looking through knitting and crochet magazines to find you. I mean, it's amazing how much of your fear is rational and how much of it is irrational. But I got to tell you, I had so many sleepless nights, so many, and just I can't, and just so much. Amdal is my maiden name. Yes, that's correct. It's a Norwegian name. Thank you, Rita. I'm glad I met you too. Yeah, it was totally emotional warfare. And then to go on for 17 years, 16 years, whatever it was. Like, and even just seeing him trying to stalk me on TikTok the other day, it's like, what are you doing? Oh, anyway, like, starting a business isn't hard enough. Like, starting a business in a high labor industry with no startup capital, with baby in tow, like, that's not hard enough. The fact that I dealt with this kind of emotional warfare uh, and death threats, constant death threats for so many years, I just can't even tell you how much harder that made. I mean, my path was challenging to begin with. My path was full of struggles to begin with, but to add death threats and kidnapping fears on top of it, I can't even tell you. Yeah, Olivia, honestly, um, all of this stuff is what makes you who you are, right? And you can choose to take it to fuel you, or you can choose to take it to make excuses for yourself. And I chose to allow all of this to fuel me. And yeah, I'm definitely a survivor. And I'm stubborn, and I'm determined, and I believe that as long as you never give up, you can get a lot further than people that do give up. Do I know of Aria Magari? No, I don't. Sure, no problem. But that was a side tangent for sure. How did it start? We mentioned Montreal. Trisha, I don't have any issue with sharing my past, and it's a lot easier when it's like more distant past than when it's current past, because for anybody who hears it, I guarantee you there is a percentage of people here this morning or who'll watch this later today or later this year even, who have been through something similar or something that even just evokes the same kind of feelings. We don't all have the same experiences, but we are all human beings and we all go through bad things. It's all relative to what we go through, right? You may not have death threats, you may not have kidnapping threats, you may not have those things, but there are things that make you feel really low and full of anxiety too. And it doesn't matter. I mean, this is something that I had to learn over the years because my situation was so bad. I had a hard time being empathetic with people who didn't have as severe situations in their lives. And that's something that I have learned over the years, is that it doesn't matter what you go through. Everybody feels the same intensity of the feelings, whether they have really horrible things or medium horrible things or light horrible things. It's all relative to your own experience. So the one thing that I can say that I've learned a lot of things through all of this, but one of the things that I learned is to be more empathetic towards other people um, in their situations too. And it educates people that haven't been through something like that. That's true, Thea. That's true. That's true also. Yes, because it's very easy to judge people just based on what you know. And it's always a good reminder to know that the waters run deep behind everybody. And the situations of the survivors of domestic violence is different for everybody. Um, yeah, everybody has their own story. And for every person that has a really horrific story, there are other people that say, well, why didn't they leave? And why didn't they do this? And why didn't do that? And, you know, and until you're in someone's shoes, you just can't understand all the facets that go into something. Like I was saying, trying to push forward and pull back from promoting my business because of the fears. And what fears did I have? Fears of unknown, fears of things that never came true, right? When someone threatens to kill you, if they don't follow through, what was the fear about? Like, those are the things that I'm left asking myself sometimes. I spent so much energy being afraid of somebody that never followed through on those threats. And I spend a lot of time studying meditation and practicing meditation now and trying to focus on what caused me to feel so much fear, and was that the right way to handle it? I don't know. Anyway, definitely a side tangent today. Yeah, the waters run deep behind everybody, Sandshell, and that's something that I've learned more as the older that I've gotten, is that everybody has a deeper story than you see. So whether you're judging someone on Facebook, or you're judging someone that you just met, or somebody that you just know a few things about, it is true about everybody. Everybody's life has more details and more roller coasters than you will ever than you may ever realize. And it's just nice to just have a little more grace and a little more patience with everybody, because no matter what someone shares out with the world, it is the tip of the iceberg. Yes, Sandshell, and the reason for sharing our stories, even when they're ugly stories like I'm sharing today, is that it helps somebody else who might be going through something similar. Absolutely. And if I can inspire anybody to judge other people less, that's another reason for saying it too. Absolutely. Okay, well, we are definitely over time, so thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy day to spend a few minutes here with me. Thank you for your patience in talking about other subjects today, but again, we're human beings and we're more alike than we are different. And if I can use some of my ugly stories to inspire other people, it makes it all worthwhile because obviously I turned out okay. Oh, and pretty soon, sooner than later, I'm going to get to tell you guys about everything that I've been working like crazy on behind the scenes. I've got a lot of exciting things to share in the next week or so. And thank you. I forget who was it, Melanie, who reminded me to dye Be So Toasty yarn. We're going to definitely add that to the list. I've got a box of undyed right there. I might just pull it down today. Sometimes I have to get things closer to me for a good reminder. Or maybe I just go put it, maybe just go put it out in the hall so I have to walk around it too. Anyway, I'm excited to do it, so it'll be good. Yes, Barbara, we never know what someone else might be going through. Never to judge, but to accept and care. Yep, I agree. I agree. And obviously, are there exceptions to every rule? Sure. But anytime we can make that our average or our norm, I think that's really wonderful. Okay, thanks again, everybody. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to spend a few minutes here with me. If you have any questions, please always feel welcome to leave them for me in the comments. We will be back here same time, same place tomorrow for Friday. Let us make time to create, share, and inspire today and every day. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.